first movie of 2024. And what a way to start the new film year. Hello everyone, I'm Jay Mere and welcome to my first review of the new film year 2024. And the first movie I saw this year was the action movie The Beekeeper. And this is a movie directed by David Ayer, starring Jason Statham in another action role, and also Josh Hutcherson is back in a new movie. Always glad to see that guy in a movie. And The Beekeeper, like I said, it's an action movie, and it's about this guy, Mr. Clay, who is portrayed by Jason Statham, is a beekeeper. And he takes care of the bees of a certain elderly woman. This woman also takes care of Mr. Clay, because Mr. Clay doesn't know a lot of people. He's a bit of a loner in this world, but he really finds the care he needs by this elderly woman. But on one day, this elderly woman got a phone call from a cyber criminal who takes all of her life savings. And this event triggers our beekeeper, Mr. Clay, to go on a brutal rampage to take his revenge. That is your movie, that is The Beekeeper. And I have to be honest, I was a bit concerned for this movie for several reasons. The first reason being, it's a January released movie. And it's a well-known fact that movies released in January are mostly not that really good. They are actually very bad movies. Most of them, not all of them, there are exceptions. Some January released movies are actually good. For example, Bad Boys for Life. But also, second reason I was a bit concerned for this movie is Jason Statham movies of lately are not always hits. They are mostly big misses. Take for example Expendables 4. I enjoyed it, but it's actually a very bad movie. The Meg 2, same case. I had my fun with it, but it's not really a good shark movie. And also the director David Ayer, our third reason, his recent movies are also not really that good. The Suicide Squad from 2016 is actually a very disappointing movie for me still, and there are some cool things in that movie, but it's not a success. And also The Tax Collector, I believe, was also a bad movie. So I was really concerned, and I really believed this movie was going to be bad. And I saw the movie, and it actually turned out that this movie is awesome. I really had a good time with this action film. I really believe this is a really great movie. I had a great time with it, and yes, it's a great action movie. And the biggest positive I can give this movie is the action sequences. The action sequences are really brutal. The director, David Ayer, doesn't shy away to show how violent violence is. It's a very violent movie. There is some bloody violence, but it also delivers in great action. I really love the action sequences, especially the first one, when the beekeeper starts his brutal rampage. Because he actually starts a bit slow. The really brutal stuff is more for the end. But I really like the first acts he does. Like the scene in the shed. That's one of my favorite scenes. And also some of these kills are actually impressive, like the scene in which he kills that one guy with a car. That was actually wow. That was cool. And so for an action movie, it actually has great action sequences. Also, our character, Mr. Clay, Jason Statham, is basically every Jason character we know. But I really like Mr. Clay. You really sympathize with Mr. Clay. And the whole idea of him being a beekeeper, but with some secret past, is actually very interesting. And really like to root for him, to follow him to the events of the movie. I think he is a really cool kind of action hero. Also, Josh Hutcherson is our villain of this movie. It's not the most memorable villain, but he did his job. And that's also a plus that I can give this movie. The focus point of this movie is actually cyber criminals that are targeting elderly people because they are thinking that elderly people are a bit weak and it's easier to take their money. It's actually a very actual crime that is taking place in the real world as well, more and more actually. So it's very cool that this movie focuses on that kind of criminality. So that's a very interesting focus point. So, great main character, great action sequences, great focus point for the criminals. The plot, what I can say about the plot is that it's a bit of like your everyday action movie. It's not really anything special. It's not nothing new. It's just your standard action story. But if it is executed perfectly, it can still work, even if something that we already know. Because when I watched this movie, I sometimes had to think about John Wick, especially John Wick, the first movie. It's a bit of the same structure, and also there is some kind of world building in this movie, like we had with John Wick. So it's nothing new. Also, certain moments I had to think on the movie Rambo Last Blood. There are some similarities between those two as well. Also, negative I have in this movie, it's not a big one, it's very clear that this movie is setting up a big plot twist, but it doesn't work for me. I immediately saw the plot twist coming, and yes, it was not a surprise for me. It was, yes, I figured that. And a last negative I have on this movie is that most of you probably will not catch it, but on the cinematography, in some scenes, shots, there is this zoom, a little zoom, and that's a bit distracted for me. I don't really like when they are doing a zoom in. So that's a little negative I have. So in general, I am actually mostly positive about this movie. I really had a good time watching it. I had some great brutal action sequences, and that's still the reason why I'm go see action movies. So I'm glad that it delivered on that. And yeah, David Ayer actually directed one good action movie. It's nothing new, but it still is a great action movie. And for a January released movie, it's definitely worth a watch. So, 2024 has kicked off with The Beekeeper, and I have to say, it's a good start. So those were my thoughts on the movie The Beekeeper. Hope you liked my review. Always be free to share your thoughts on the movie in the comments. Would love to read those. And if you want to see more reviews of me in the future, always be free to subscribe to my channel. Until the next time.